Oh man, you ready?
I'm ready.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another 25 Foot High podcast. I got Zach playing on his phone right now.
I'm not playing on my phone. I'm getting ready for the podcast.
Getting ready for the podcast. Well, first off, we'd like to start this by thanking Threads Custom Bowstrings. Threads Custom Bowstrings. Look them up on Facebook or check out their website.
It's Threads with a Z, right?
Yeah, Threads with a Z. And you should be able to see the banner in front. That
I don't know how to type I don't know how to type a red Z, but the Z is red on the banner.
Yeah, don't. It's not redzz.com. It's just Threads Custom Bowstrings altogether.
I mean, probably if you Googled it with an S, it'd come up.
Probably.
I haven't tried it, but I'd assume.
Next up is Native Sense. Check out Native Sense at nativesensellc.com. If you type in just Native Sense, it's going to come up with... oh, thanks.
You smell that?
Yeah, it smells like it smells like I just walked through the forest. nativesensellc.com. And then us. Check out the link below and get your own 25 High hat or decal. Yep, these on top of our head. If you're just listening to this, then just check it out below and get you a hat, and we'll send it straight from us. We handle every bit of the work that gets done to produce these hats. So, besides stitching, I'm not that talented. We have a really good friend that does the stitching for us. So check them out. Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, embroidery is just a fancy word for letter stitching or something. Yeah. I think. I don't know. But
today, we're eventually going to work in. We're going over, I think it's 20 or 25 questions. The link says 25. Basically, it's 25 questions that are asked from hunters or new hunters. And I found this on, was it AlabamaOutdoors.com? The link?
OutdoorLife.com.
OutdoorLife.com.
So some of these questions are like super legit, and there's stuff that new and even somewhat experienced hunters would have questions about. Some of them are kind of funny. I've only skimmed through a few of them, so I don't really know what to...
Yeah,
I don't fully know what to expect, because like I say, I skimmed through some of them, most of them, and read a few of them. But like I say, some are legit, some are kind of funny, something that a new hunter might not know, but we might find it funny, and some of you guys, more experienced hunters might find it pretty funny.
Yeah, and like I said, I went through them, so in this link... we're not going to link it down below. If you want to find it, that's Outdoor Life. Just Google questions or hunting questions,
like
or
top hunting questions.
Top hunting questions. It should come up. Some of them are what the experienced hunters would call crazy or ignorant.
Yeah, not in a bad way. Ignorant, just like literally you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. There's nothing wrong with not knowing, but. Us, it's like we get a little chuckle out of it because we've been knowing most of this since we've been hunting all of our lives. But there's nothing wrong with asking these questions. Feel free to ask more questions in the comments down below. If you have any, we'll do a Q&A, go through questions and fill them out. So we're going to get started with it. Now, on this link, there's a question. There's a question. And then somebody, it depends on the question, different people from that website answers it. We're not going to go through all of their answers. We're not going to read all of their answers. I feel like we'll cover some of their stuff just by us talking, but we're just going to read the questions, and then we're going to bounce off, what we think.
So speaking of new hunters, watch this transition. This is going to be a decent transition.
You messed it up by talking about the transition.
That's kind of the point, though.
Yeah.
Speaking of new hunters, a different type of hunting that I am new to is foraging for mushrooms.
Oh, God.
So I found my first morels in Washington State in the eastern, fairly close to Canada, fairly close to Idaho, eastern Washington. We were turkey hunting. I think I filmed a little bit about it. We ended up cooking them up. And it is one thing about morels, it is super, super easy to identify morels. And I don't believe there's any lookalikes in at least most of America. I could be wrong. And the lookalikes are super easy to identify as not morels. But today, or the other day actually, I was walking around in my backyard and I saw some bright yellow mushrooms. And it just sort of popped in my head. I wonder if those are chanterelles. And then I just didn't think about it. And I went back out today and I went and did some exploring, did a ton of research. I've been on my phone about, my screen time probably went up today because I've been on my phone like constantly like looking up how to identify chanterelles versus like false chanterelles or jack-o'-lanterns or something else. First off, it's fairly easy to identify chanterelles, although I'm still not 100% sure. But the only two lookalikes in our area, Cade's like, oh, you're going to die if you eat those. My parents like, oh, you're going to die if you eat those. Well, first off, the two lookalikes, one of them, the only bad thing that happens if you eat them is they don't taste good. Perfectly fine to eat. They just taste super bitter. That's one of the lookalikes. No negative side effects. The other lookalike, guess what it does?
I know.
It gives you cramps and diarrhea. So
that's enough for me.
I mean, that's enough for me not to want to eat it, but you're not going to die. It's going to be an evening of being uncomfortable. And also, the lookalikes don't really look that much like it. So I'm going to do some further research and further testing to make sure they're safe, just to be 100% sure. But I'm super excited if I have a legit big chanterelle patch in my backyard, dude. That would be so awesome.
So one of three things is going to happen when you try these mushrooms. One, they're going to be fine. You're going to eat them. They may taste alright. They may taste good. Number two, you're going to have the goes or the runs all afternoon. Or number three is a unlikely possibility, but still possible. You're going to go on a heck of a spiritual journey.
I guess it's technically possible, but none of the lookalikes and even chanterelle, none of them. Well, I did read one report where the lookalike that only tastes bitter and that's only a negative side effect. I've heard that in my research, somebody said that there are reports where people ate large quantities of them and did experience hallucinations, but I'm not going to eat large quantities. I'm going to eat like a quarter of one. Like, I've got this little pan. Have you seen those little pans that are they're like this big and they're made to like cook one egg?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I'm going to cook like a quarter of one of those mushrooms in there if I find out they're safe, just to be 100% sure. Because I did a lot of research. Like I say, I'm going to cook like a quarter of it and then eat that. And first off, if it tastes bad, of course I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to eat anything that's nasty. And then if it tastes all right, but then I give it an hour or two and I'm on the toilet for an hour or two, then I'm not going to eat the rest of them. But then if they taste good, which, I mean, I got to bust them open because the meat's supposed to be like cream colored, white colored on the inside. They're not supposed to be hollow, and they are supposed to smell kind of like apricot. So I feel pretty well with my judgment as soon as I crack them open, see what it looks
Next
like.
Next thing I know, I'm going to be getting a bunch of random Snapchats and stuff from you, and then I'm going to come check on you by driving up to your house, and I'm going to see you outside sitting on a log with nothing on but underwear and a hair tie around your head by a fire, and you're just sitting there rocking back and forth,
and then I'm like,
Cade,
Cade, don't come close to the. There's no fire, by the way. Don't come close to the fire. There's a dragon. I highly, highly doubt that's gonna happen.
Y'all wouldn't ever see it, but I would record
it. No, that's one thing. Don't ever eat a mushroom unless you're 100% sure that it's safe to eat. So I'm like 99 at this point. Hopefully, here before long, I'll be 100% sure, and I will report back on my experience.
Yeah, safe bet. Just stick to your mushrooms that you buy at the grocery store, like your portobellas.
See, I don't like those
white ones. Portobellas are awesome.
I'm not a big fan of like mushrooms, but morels, we cooked them horribly. Like our butter was just barely melted.
Yeah,
and
that's the reason you didn't like them, because you didn't cook them.
No, the morels were good. The flavor was awesome. They just taste like butter and flour.
Yes,
we
why?
Put flour and cooked them in butter.
You put flour on?
You're supposed to fry morels, yeah.
Nah, you saute them.
Well, yeah, you saute them, but you batter then saute. That's what all the Midwesterners do. If there's any Midwesterners listening, comment that down below.
What's your mushroom recipe?
There's morels as far south as like North Alabama, but they're a lot more rare.
Yeah, I've never tried one. I really want to though. That one time of the year, spring, I see on all my Instagram feeds, everybody that I know from up there is out collecting them. I'm like,
yeah, you're
such a jerk. Like, I want some. Send me some, but they're so hard to get.
And it's like the you'll see on like companies and stuff, or like just big names, or even like on Facebook groups, like turkey hunting Facebook groups. Some dude will have a big old tom out there with a fan, and then it'll just be like piles of morels around it, and you're just like so jealous because not only did they kill a turkey, they found like 10 pounds of morels, and you're like, dude, come on, why can't we get those?
Yeah, but
I do want to get more into foraging. Like, I've obviously, being from the South, I'm sure you're the same way. You've picked those huckleberries in the woods and probably bulluses. Have you ever eaten a wild bullus?
Probably.
The little grapes that look like a scuppernong, but they're purple and they grow wild.
Yeah.
I've eaten a handful of those, and then blackberries. Or dewberries. Well, there's dewberries and blackberries.
Zach's not a very good hunter, so he had to learn how to become a gatherer.
Yeah, pretty much. No, that's why they're called hunter-gatherers, because they do both. I do both. I may not kill, but I'm a hunter, and I can gather stuff. Well, I hopefully will. But no, in the South, I was reading one thing where, now I definitely want to go out with a legit forager, someone who really knows what they're doing, and like see what all they pick, which I'm probably not going to retain all the information and all the stuff, or I might not like some of the stuff that's out there, but I do want to go out because like in the South you can pretty much find edible mushrooms and edible plants year round. I
did make contact with he's one of the bigger like, I'm trying to find a way to describe his job. He is a forester, and his primary thing is native wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
And I made contact with him. He's from northern Alabama. I'm not going to talk about his name right now I did make contact with him, told him if he's ever in southern Alabama, we need to get together and make a podcast. And he said, sure thing, I'll let you know. So
he probably would know. I mean,
hopefully that becomes something we do in the future. I just it's hard to demand or ask people to drive all the way down here for an hour or 2 hour podcast. So
yeah, but also a video where we go out, and I remember Meat Eater did a podcast where the first half of it they had like mics, like the lapel mics or whatever, and they walked around for like 45 minutes or an hour, like foraging in like some stream bed in Montana or something, and they picked like all sorts of stuff. Like, it was stuff that I knew about that I had no idea you could eat. And like I'm sure everybody's heard of people eating dandelions. I've never done that. They like pick dandelions.
Yeah, how hungry I'd have to be to eat a dandelion.
Apparently they're good. I don't know. It's not my first choice.
Nah.
I'm not a big fan of greens anyway. But
I'm gonna be hungry to eat a dandelion.
Yeah, but either way, they did like a 45 or an hour long podcast where they walked around, and then like the second half of the podcast was like an hour where they sat down and talked about what they gathered, other local stuff, and I don't know. It was pretty cool. We might do like a video if we can.
Yeah, I saw Bear Grylls eating bark off of a tree. So
yeah, Bear Grylls also drinks urine.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it once, I think, in a certain period of time.
No, literally every single true survival expert says not to do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it unless I was about to die.
It'll make you die faster.
Yeah.
Salt. There's a lot of salt.
It depends if I have saran wrap or a pot.
Oh yeah,
So,
I mean you could distill it out.
Yeah.
I'd 100% distill it, and make it, like clean it out. Like that's what they do on the International Space Station. They have like a charcoal filter where you go to the bathroom, and then it filters it all out.
Yeah. So
and turns it into water.
Talking about drinking water, funny. I was skimming through TikTok. I saw a video of a guy that was talking about survival, and he said one of the ultimate survival tools that he keeps in his pack is a tampon.
For plugging up like bad wounds.
So plugging up bad wounds.
You know what? Side note. You know what tampons were originally invented for? I think it was either World War I or World War II, somewhere around in there. I think they were originally designed to plug bullet holes.
Yeah, so that was one of them they talked about. But you can plug other wounds with, so like if you fall on a sharp stick or something.
Yeah,
but
or if you get shot.
That he did for that. Also, since it's cotton, a fire starter.
Yeah.
And then another thing was that you could break off the top half and the bottom half of it. Now, he said you still run the risk of getting sick by bacteria, but you can stick it down into the water and kind of suck water through it like a live straw. They get all the dirt and grime and stuff out of it. But if it's a bacterial free like running water, you ought to be fine.
Yeah, there's still like Giardia and stuff.
Yeah, but
I mean, if you're about to die, you can.
I would definitely take that risk if I was about to die.
If you somehow knew that you had like a day, like let's throw out a random example, which is totally hypothetical. You're in Alaska, and you pack 14 days of supplies, and you know you're going to be there for 12 days, and then you have really bad weather on the 12th day, the 13th day, the 14th day, and the 15th day. Well, you're out of supplies then, and the planes can't fly in bad weather. I mean, you could do that in a little stream near camp, and you'd be fine, because you know that they're going to come soon. And also, most of Alaska, I don't know all of Alaska, but most of Alaska is high enough, like in like latitude or whatever, that like there's not near as many like bacteria stuff.
Yeah, I would,
like Florida swamps. I wouldn't use anything less than a life straw to drink straight from it.
That's what I was about to say. Is like I would much rather do that for up north. Further you go up north, safer I feel about drinking the water.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I would not want to do that in our local waters.
No, I mean, I grew up in creeks, dude. In the summer, I've 100% drank probably gallons of water out of like those sandy creeks.
Yeah, I have to. I ain't know that.
And I can't
jump in the water. You know how much chlorine I drank by swimming in the pool?
Yeah, and you also like water hoses. They're supposed to be real bad for you or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I've drank gallons and gallons throughout my whole life. Like you're working in your yard or whatever, cutting grass, weed eating or whatever, and you got to wash off something. Just take the hose, you take the top off and just.
When I was little, I would just drink out of the hose just so I didn't have to go back inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was thirsty.
Yeah.
But
we turned out decent.
Yeah.
I believe.
That may be what's wrong with us, though.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Drink out the water hose if you're on risk. But I'm sure if you're watching this, you've drank out of a water hose before. Sometimes a water hose is a very clean option.
Yeah, compared to what's right. I mean, it builds your immune system, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's something that could come in handy these days. So do or do not. Just don't do it because we said to.
You want to get into some of these questions?
Yeah. Fire away with that first one.
All right. So this one, it's something I'm pretty interested in because I like guns. I'm sure you like guns too. I know you like guns.
Yeah.
I know a lot of you guys watching like guns. So first question I have, which I don't know if your order's different. I don't know.
Whatever order, it don't matter.
So it says, after I clean my rifle, it takes about 3 shots for it to settle in. It's leaving a small amount of oil from the last patch, and the barrel caused the gun to string shots. Should I dry patch as the last step? So, first off, yes. I always, in muzzleloaders and like stuff that runs real dirty, even like a 22 even, like you sometimes want to leave oil in the barrel because the gunpowder is a very strong corrosive and you don't want your barrel to corrode. However, like what he might be talking about, he may be cleaning it too well.
Or too often. Really.
Yeah, because like I know, and I overheard a conversation with an actual Navy SEAL in a gun store talking to the gun store, like the clerk or whatever, and the Navy SEAL, he was saying like to never use a wire brush unless the fouling in the barrel is really, really bad. And this is something I've experienced. Like people talk about breaking in a gun. A lot of times there's like micro abrasions left from like the machining process or whatever, and firing a few rounds through there, the copper will fill up those abrasions, create a much smoother surface for the bullet to slide on, and it will actually, after, you know, it could be 5 rounds, it could be 100 rounds for it to fill up those gaps and maybe grind off like some little burrs in there or something. And that copper fouling plus just sending bullets through the barrel will really, really smooth out the barrel. And then you go back in with a wire brush and copper solvent, and you completely take your broken in solid sub MOA barrel and turn it back into basically factory settings.
Yeah,
is an easy way to say it. And so that's one thing I've done a lot, is just avoid a wire brush unless like I'm shooting, it's shooting good, my gun's shooting good, and then all of a sudden it starts kind of stringing shots and stuff, you know.
Yeah, you know, and this may be bad or it may be right. I don't know. It's just the way I do it. You know, with my hunting rifle especially, if I take a different gun to the range and shoot a lot, I bring it home and clean it. But with my hunting rifle, I only clean it once a year.
Yeah.
I clean it after hunting season every year, because it goes from being used hunting to sitting in a safe for 6 or 8 months, whatever.
Yeah.
So I clean it at the end of every hunting season. Now, that would change if I dropped it and got mud or something in the barrel, but I have never ran a steel or what was it, copper
wire
brush
brass.
Is brass or
usually
copper?
Brass, because they're softer than it's softer than the metal the barrel's made out of.
And I've never ran that down, and I just run a bunch of I run like 5 or 6 clean oil patches through it.
Yeah.
And then about 2 or 3 dry patches.
Yeah, and like you're not shooting a hunting rifle 150 rounds on a range day every other weekend. Unless
something happens, I have to go back and re-sight it in. I shoot my hunting rifle like 3-4 times a year, maybe.
Yeah. So like your rifle, like it certainly can build up like gunpowder residue and whatever else. Even like brass fouling in the chamber can mess up a gun from time to time. But for the most part, like you do need to clean out the gunpowder out of the barrel, like the residue and stuff. But as far as like the copper fouling and stuff, that doesn't really matter as much. It actually helps the gun in a lot of cases, but leaving some oil in there, it's good if you're storing the rifle. Leaving the oil in the barrel is good if the rifle is going straight to the safe and sitting. But if you're going straight from cleaning to the woods, you might want to run some dry patches through there and get that oil residue out of there.
A few.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, having a little oil on a gun's good, but not in the barrel where your bullet's running down when you're shooting.
Yeah. I mean, even a little bit of oil might be okay, but it's hard to know.
It's going to get burnt up within the first couple shots anyway.
Yeah, like if you're going to a range, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, like a hunting rifle is usually set up to shoot, well, 99.9% of hunting rifles should be set up to shoot a cold barrel.
Yes.
Like that's like an AR. A lot of times they don't group until you get the barrel hot. Because they're designed totally different. They're more of a combat gun. They're designed, to constantly shoot, and a deer rifle was made to shoot, on the best case scenario, shoot one time every, couple weeks.
Worst case scenario, twice in a row.
Yeah, and your barrel's not hot after 2 shots.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason, like, when I go sight in my hunting rifle, I'll shoot it once and then wait like 5 or 10 minutes and then shoot it again.
Yeah.
I won't, if faster you shoot it back to back, less, I mean, you're basically wasting ammo at that point.
I did see a video one time that was pretty cool. This dude, he was trying to get the farthest recorded hit with iron sights. He had like this old like sniper rifle of some sort, and he had it with iron sights, and he kept a boar snake in an ice chest, and he'd shoot like 25 shots and miss every time because his iron sights are like 1,500 yards, and then he'd take the frozen boar snake and run it down the barrel, and then sit the gun like on top of the cooler, like almost in the cooler, to cool it off.
That sounds like a good way to make metal break.
It's not as bad as, I mean, it wasn't like a frozen boar snake. It was just cooler than the air outside.
Yeah, I know, but still,
yeah,
cooling down that metal real fast isn't good for it.
It's not as bad as glass though. Not near as bad.
I know, but it's still,
it may warp the metal a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know. But he hit it. After like 40-something shots, he hit steel at like, I want to say it was like 1,700 yards. I don't know. That video is probably on YouTube somewhere.
That's a lot. It's a long distance.
Next question?
Yeah.
Am I in charge of the questions?
Sure.
Okay. So next question. My mom grounded me today because I'm apparently too obsessed with hunting and need to focus on other things like schoolwork, even though my lowest grade in school is an 89. She thinks all I worry about is hunting. Even though I love hunting, I do have a life beside it, but apparently I'm not supposed to do what I love.
I say he's doing a really good job if his lowest grade's 89.
Yeah. See, I totally, I feel this guy, he is like, me and him might be the same person except his grades are better.
Yeah, I was say, and D's get degrees.
Yeah, well, C's nowadays, because D's get you kicked out of the program.
Okay, C's degrees. You know what? That's all I need.
Yeah,
whatever it takes to pass. They don't look at at grade averages when they go. All they look at is diplomas when they're
pretty much when you get a job. Yeah. But I don't know, like, I just thought that was kind of funny, but I definitely feel the same way. I get so obsessed with hunting during hunting season, but you just got to find time to do your schoolwork.
You can ask my parents. I was always a better kid during hunting season. I didn't want to get that right taken away from me.
Yeah, I remember. So I used to be a little troublemaker in school.
Oh, I bet you were bad.
I went to the principal almost every single day of first grade.
Oh, first grade.
Yeah. But anyway, I kind of got better through the years, and I figured out how to get away with stuff better. And I think it was 5th or 6th grade. Might have been 4th, doesn't matter. My dad got gator tags. And he said it was like one of the last weekends of season. And he was like, all right, we're going out with this guy. He kind of knows what he's doing. And if you go this week without getting a referral, then you can go gator hunting with me. I had to go a full week without acting up. And I got a referral for doing something. I don't even know what it was, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't my fault.
It never is.
Well, no, I mean, a lot of times it was. This time it legitimately was not my fault. And it was like, I don't know, I tackled some kid in football and he messed up his shirt or something. I don't know what it was. It's like, you're playing tackle football, dude. We were playing flag football and I tackled him, I think. That may have been it.
That's it.
That may have been it. I don't even
against
remember.
The rules.
Whatever. And anyway.
I mean, he probably deserved it, but still, it's against the rule.
Yeah.
Flag football is one of the worst things that ever happened to this country.
Yeah, I didn't get to go gator hunting. And my mom, she was like, she knew that like what I did was not that wrong, so she was going to hide it from him. and then I was telling my dad a different story that happened during the same football game, and my mom ratted me out. It was rough, and I didn't get to go gator hunting. But they didn't kill a gator, so it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Moms are really bad at ratting people out.
Yeah, and she was gonna hide it. She was like down to hide it with me, like hide it from my dad, and because she knew I was not necessarily that wrong. Like whatever I did, it wasn't that bad. It was just bad enough to get a referral, and. Yeah, and I was telling my dad a different story that happened during the same football game, and she didn't let me finish, and then she was like, oh, I thought we weren't telling him. And I was like, I wasn't telling him, and my dad, of course, was like, tell me what? And then we had to tell him then.
Yeah.
But,
what's next?
This is kind of a weird one. If you don't remove the windpipe when field dressing, will it spoil your meat?
I wouldn't think so.
I
mean, obviously after enough time.
I don't think the windpipe is a part that really rots that bad. It's not gonna. I don't know.
Isn't it mostly cartilage?
Yeah, it is. And that just seems like a weird question. But I know in like Europe and stuff, when they like field dress a deer, they don't cut past the diaphragm. They leave the lungs and the heart and everything up there intact until they get it back to camp and clean it then. It's like an old ritual or something. Yeah.
I wouldn't. I mean, I think you would have to get a specialist on decaying animals.
All I know is almost every deer I've killed, I've brought back to the skinning shed as fast as possible and just completely processed it.
I mean,
I've certainly gutted some deer, and I try to get everything out, but
I have never field dressed a deer.
You never like gutted one?
No, I've never gutted one before hanging it up to skin it. I've never shot one then gutted. I
don't know what.
I think long as you clean it within 4 hours or so, 5 hours, it ought to be fine.
I just don't know what situation you would be in where you leave the windpipe in long enough that you would have that would be the thing that caused something bad to happen to your meat.
I think there's too many other variables before that would be a problem.
It rots in the bones. Like the rot starts in the bones.
Yeah.
Most of the time, and you gotta cause I'm thinking if you're out west and you're 10 miles deep. You're deboning the animal in the woods and packing it out. You got to let the air flow around it to cool the meat down. But then if you're in pretty much anywhere else, you pretty much bring the whole deer back. You may gut it in the woods depending on the situation, and then bring it back. But the windpipe, that just seems like a weird question.
Yeah, I've never heard that question before.
Next question. If I can get it open. Can deer smell the difference between human urine and their own?
No.
Almost every mock scrape or every time I freshen up an existing scrape, usually I pee in it, and then I'll spray some native scents. If it's pre-rut, that late December, early January scrapes, I'll pee in it and then spray some deception around, on the tree and on the ground, outside of the scrape sometimes.
No, I do not believe they can distinguish the difference between. The only way they can distinguish the difference is between non-estrus urine and estrus urine, or non-rut urine and rut urine.
Yeah, because it's gland scents.
That's gland scents.
If there's no gland scent, it's just
urine
after a few minutes.
Urine smells like urine.
Yeah, after a few minutes, it's mostly ammonia.
Unless you've been eating a lot of asparagus.
Yeah,
but no, for real, I have peed out of shooting houses and out of tree stands and out of climbers while deer were in front of me. So it's not, that scent's not going to affect them at all. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it has any effect. I think,
if anything, I think it makes them think there's another animal, another deer or something in that area.
Yeah, because I've got videos of good bucks hitting scrapes like a day or two after I peed in a scrape.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, and me and you we done this. I did it on your club. We were scouting or basically walking into an area on his club checking a camera or something, and there was a scrape. So I peed in the scrape.
And then I peed. It was interesting. There was 2 scrapes side by side, like big scrapes. Kay peed in one, and then stepped away. I set up the camera, and then I turned around and peed in the other one.
Yeah, and
that really
Deer came and checked it right
that night.
That night, like out or just a couple
there were
hours.
2 different bucks, I think, that night.
Yeah. So, and here's another story. So, hunting season before last, you were with us on my lease that day. We went down to look at some sign, and on the edges of one of our food plots. And we found this big scrape that a buck had just recently
The center of the scrape was still wet.
The center of the scrape was still wet. So I peed on it, and did you do it too?
Yep.
And then he peed on it, and then the next day I went back and checked that same scrape, and it had been re-scraped and peed on right before I went and checked on it. And that buck came and checked that scrape 3 days in a row.
Did anybody kill that deer?
I don't know. I never seen the deer that was doing it. I don't know if it was a little buck or a big buck, but he was constantly in there.
Yeah, he got real mad. He thought there was 2 other folks.
Yeah, he was mad. Like, he was like, "This is my hood right here."
So, question number, I don't know how many. I was in my stand today, saw what looked like a doe at a distance, heard and saw her snort. Can they do that, or was it a button buck?
Yes.
Can does snort?
Yeah.
This is one of the funnier ones, because like this dude may have only watched like hunting shows and only seen like the snort wheeze, like from like Michael Waddell or somebody.
And if I'm not mistaken, does can do that too.
I think they can. I just know that almost every single time that I walk in the woods, the wind's not like, well, it's very common for me to walk in the woods and at some point hear that shh, 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 somewhere. A lot of times, you spook a doe and they blow about 47 times.
Yeah.
So yeah, does can blow.
Sometimes a doe can make pretty much any sound that a buck does. I mean, I've had a doe sit there and blow at me so long that I started blowing back at her, just so hopefully I'd scare her off and get her out of there.
Yeah.
Now, she was sitting there, and it was bow hunting. Does were legal. She was sitting just outside her range. Like, I mean, she was at like 55 yards. I could have taken a shot, but you're not going to hit them alert when they're alert at 55 yards.
Yeah, that's
a stupid shot, is what it is. And that doe was sitting there going, whew, whew, stomping her foot. I'm getting so mad, and so I just started going whew, whew, back at her, and she was looking up at me, and we were just going back and forth there for a little bit, and then she just trotted off.
So I got an interesting similar story. So one thing I started doing last year is, like, the last 50, 100, 150 yards to where I'm going to set up, I'll, like, just really, really slow down and start sneaking. And I had a doe. I busted a doe. It had to have been out of her bed. Because as slow as I was walking, like, I was making as little noise as possible. Like, I broke a branch and sat there and for, like, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, something like that. And then I just started easing along after that, that type of thing. And I was sitting still looking for a tree. I took another step and accidentally, like, almost tripped over, like, a little yopon or gallberry or something. And then she jumped up, like, 15 yards from me and blew. And then she ran off and blew again. And I just blew back at her, like, twice. And then that was it. I heard her, like, obviously jump up, blow, and take off, and blow again. And then after I blew at her a couple times, I heard, like, like, just slow walking instead of, like, running. and then I eased on into my tree, and it took me probably 20 minutes to get set up in the tree, not because it was like a difficult tree or anything.
Trying to be extra quiet.
I was being super quiet. Like that was the quietest I've ever climbed a pine tree in my life. And about the time I hung my camera on the tree, which is usually my last step,
yeah,
I hung my camera up and got it situated in my camera arm, and I turned it on. I was about to film my intro, and I heard something walking. I looked to my right, exactly where I had spooked that doe from, and she's standing there looking around, and she walks kind of behind me, dead downwind of me, and that's when she smelled me. But she didn't, or not, no, she never walked behind me. She just walked back to check out the situation, and then kind of just eased off when she didn't see anything. I feel like that was just as spooky as if she would have seen me.
Yeah.
To her.
So one thing I want to point out, if you're hunting and a doe, especially if a doe busts you and starts blowing, even if she stands there and blows for 20 or 30 minutes, that's your hunt's not over. I mean, I have seen does sit there and blow and do stuff like that while bucks were in front of me, and a lot of the bucks know that a lot of the times these does are blowing artificially, like they're blowing for no high risk. So just because a doe is blowing does not mean your hunt is over. Keep hunting. And the only time it's really over is if you're in that last 20 minutes of hunting, and it blows, and that's likely to keep them from being anything new coming by you. So you got the next question lined up?
I do. I don't think we're going to get to all of them, so I was just kind of going through some.
Go at them. We'll make it quicker.
Yeah. All right. What can you do to help draw deer to small pieces of land, 50 acres or less?
Corn.
If it's not
legal,
I'll read their answer because it's a very good answer. So deer need 3 things to survive. Cover, or 3 things to stay in an area, I would say. Cover, food, and
the water's not one of them.
No, I was going to say not overpressuring them. So, like, if you, like, let's say it's like a fairly open woodlot, and it's not legal to bait there. I would, 15, 20 acres, or however big, plant a couple food plots, and then in one corner of it, I would say at least 5 acres, or as much land as you can give up, basically. Do some hinge cutting if that's legal where you're at, which it should be if it's private land. Do some type of hinge cutting, do some type of, like, build up some brush piles. Do something to create security cover if it's fairly open. If it's thick, then you don't really have to do anything. You just got to you don't have to do anything for cover. You just got to put some food in there.
Or, here's another off the wall, plant corn.
Yeah.
And quote unquote not harvest it, and then right there a hunting season cut it down. Cut it down a little at the time. Bush hog it a little at the time.
Yeah,
that's
works.
Technically legal.
I think it's legal most places.
And yeah, in most places.
Yeah, plant something that they really like. Soybeans,
diversity.
Yeah, just diversity in food, diversity in, like, habitats. Like, this is one thing, if you're looking to buy a small piece of land and you want to know whether or not it'd be good to hunt, look for somewhere that already has oak trees and then a thicket or a swamp next. Like, even if it's not on the property, look at the nearby properties. Because if, like, 100 yards off your property is a beautiful, like, thick, nasty swamp or just any type of thicket, and then on your land or the land you want to buy is, like, covered in oaks on that same side or something along those lines, or if you can put a food plot right there as close as you can possibly get to that thicket, like, that's a good way to get them in. And you just got to make sure you have what they need, because it says their answer is provide them with a preferred food source and good cover. That's pretty much What I say. I agree with that.
All right.
Next question. Just a curious question for all the bow hunters. What's your farthest kill shot with a bow?
Mine's 50. That's my furthest kill shot.
Mine is...
I've done that like 4 times at exactly 50 yards. I can't break it.
I want to say 30, 32-ish, I think. And honestly, I don't recommend shooting much past 30-something if you can avoid it. What's your farthest you feel comfortable with it in the perfect scenario?
My perfect scenario is 35, 40 yards. Love it.
Okay,
I'm saying
what's the farthest you would feel comfortable shooting a bow in the perfect scenario?
In the perfect scenario, okay, let me describe my perfect scenario real quick. My perfect scenario is sitting, as far as distance, long shot, is sitting on a food plot in a climber about 30 feet high, and there is either constant highway noise or airplane traffic above me, or if you're in some areas, a train going by, to where there is background noise that deadens out the deer's hearing. If I have those, and a very calm deer.
Yeah, the deer's got to be like...
If I have those things, I practice out to 100 yards. I'll shoot it to set. I feel completely ethical shooting at a whitetail at 70 yards with the right situation.
Farthest I feel is like 35.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna do that unless it's perfect.
Yeah.
But I'll shoot at 50 yards all day at a deer. Long as it's not super alert.
Yeah. I don't know. I've had bad experiences shooting past. Like 40 is a very difficult yardage for me. Just I've had so many deer. I guess it's just part of it, at least, is my judgment on how calm the deer is, and also getting a little shooken up and stuff. I've lost some deer at between like 40 and 45. So right now, I don't feel really comfortable shooting a deer much past about 35.
No, I really like them close. I like them being closer, but 35, 40 yards is, you're right. For me, at least, that's all depending on the person. But for me, I feel very confident in my ability to cleanly shoot those animals, and I don't. You can get away with a lot more movement and noise at those distances. So it actually, in turn, relaxes you a little bit because you can make more mistakes at that distance yourself, as far as your process of standing up or drawing back, ranging it, and stuff like that. But it is really fun to shoot them up close to where all you hear is your bow go off and then that pop from hitting them.
If I can get my bow drawn and them still not know I'm there at like 12 yards, that's my perfect scenario.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing as like your perfect long shot scenario, because you have to have something like wind or something, or like a train to cover up the sound. And then you got to be like, I had one deer, a velvet buck, on a small piece of property. Even it was over a pile of corn.
It was like 4 acres or something.
I think it's about 9 acres, but
but you're only hunting like,
there's about 7 or 8 acres of woods, and there's only about a quarter of an acre that you can actually hunt.
Yeah,
because everything else is a thicket. And either way, velvet buck, second day of bow season, he come into 10 yards and he was facing me, and I had to wait 7 or 8 minutes for him to calm down. And when he finally calmed down, that's when he turned broadside. And what I should have done, and what I knew I should have done and I didn't do, was I should have drawn my bow and then I was in my saddle. It was like one of my first hunts in the saddle. I should have drawn my bow and then like eased around the tree because I knew I could get away with drawing my bow. But I tried to ease around the tree first, and my leg slipped.
Yeah.
But he was like 10 yards. If I could have gotten my bow drawn, I know for a fact that deer would have been dead. Because he was 10 yards away and he was calm at that point.
It is fun whenever you can put every pin in your housing on them.
Yeah, and you just know they're going to die.
It's like, boom, right there.
So, this is more of a question for you.
Okay.
How much of your deer meat do you donate? Not necessarily to, like, Hunters for Hungry, because, like, we don't have that around here. But just, like, to buddies or something.
Oh, I'd say I give a fair amount away. I keep more than I give away.
Me too.
Because we eat it every single day almost. Like, from deer burger to backstrap. I mean, we eat it every single day. We don't buy beef at all. Like, unless we buy a steak here and there, we don't buy beef at all as far as burger and stuff. So we eat it. But I would say I give a lot away to family and friends by cooking it for them.
That's what I was expecting you to say. Because, like, his whole family, like, your dad and you, like, at the camp or even at, like, Alabama football games or, like, just anything. If family comes over, friends come over, they're cooking deer meat, and they know somebody's coming over, they cook extra.
I'd bet at least a deer a year that goes to people that we cook for.
Yeah.
At least. You know, at least a whole deer. But, I mean, we give some to our, you know, like our hunting camp neighbors and stuff that don't hunt, that like it. We give some to them every year.
Yeah.
That type of thing. But.
So, I'm going to save one question for last, but this is the next one. Can smoke and light from a fire scare a deer away or make them nervous?
I don't think so.
I think the light can. Like, if there's an active fire, I feel like that's one thing. But also, smoking your clothes is one of the best scent killers in the world.
Especially down here where they burn every year somewhere.
Yeah. Like, our deer are so used to smelling burnt woods that you put smoke on your clothes, that it's a very familiar scent to them. Also, the carbon from the smoke it's activated carbon. It's the same stuff they put in scent blocker. And all you're doing is just coating your clothes in if you stand over a campfire. Yeah. It kills human scent. And it kills bacteria.
Yeah, just get you a bunch of dead pine needles and stuff and stack it up and light it on fire. Of course, obviously, if you're at a place it's legal to start a fire.
Yeah.
And stand in front of it and smoke yourself down before hunting. And
just be careful you don't light yourself on fire.
Yeah, don't do that. That wouldn't feel too good.
Okay, good question for you again. What's a good lifespan on a bowstring? It's a quick question.
Depending on how much you shoot it, anywhere between, if you shoot a lot, a year. But if you shoot it just a little bit, I'd say 3 years max.
Yeah, that's
on any situation, 3 years max.
Yeah. What is an easy way to scout deer and turkeys when you don't have a lot of time?
Be familiar with your terrain and study GPS and know what type of areas they live in.
Yeah, I'd say map scouting and find time.
Find time, yeah.
Like, if you get a free day, don't put as much into actually trying to find exactly where the deer are. Like, let's say you get one free day a month. You take that day and you walk as much land as you can, and you put as many marks down, and then you go through on your map and do plenty of research and look at the topo, look at the terrain habitat edges and stuff that are nearby to what the decent stuff you found.
And if you take off and go on vacation and go hunting for a week, you scout 4 days and hunt 3.
Yeah. So their answer, I figured I'd read it. Pick a good looking spot and set up. That's what I do a lot.
I do that a lot deer hunting.
Yeah, deer hunting, yeah. For turkeys, you don't have a lot of time and you can wake up early enough before, if your work starts at 9, 8 or 9, most of the time you should have enough time to go out and listen to turkeys on the roost.
Yeah.
At the very least, that'll give you a good point to
Yeah,
start.
I mean, if I'm going in completely blind for turkey hunting, I just find a water and go listen near it.
Yeah. What time of year is best to plant a food plot?
Down here?
Best case scenario, you've got food year round. So like you plant in the spring and the fall.
Yeah, I mean, what are you talking? At that question, are you talking what's the best time to go from summer plots to winter plots?
That's what I was hoping to answer, because the best case scenario, you plant in like March, April, with like some sort of, or even February around here, with like some sort of clover or some sort of clay peas or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't do that. I'm just saying that's the best case scenario. And then you plant in late September, early October with your fall plots.
We plant, being down here, we plant usually, bow season comes in October 15th. We either plant that weekend or the weekend after.
Yeah.
Typically.
So, that's not a very good.
What is it?
This question is not a very good question for us because we hunt in the South, but it says basically says, since humans go to the extreme to stay warm during cold weather, what does a deer do?
Beds up or moves.
Extreme cold weather.
Extreme cold weather?
I'm talking like Saskatchewan.
They move a lot, don't they?
Yeah, because like I remember hearing, my dad told me a story of one of his coworkers that hunted in Canada like once every couple years or whatever, and he said up there that the deer didn't start moving until it got like -30 or something crazy. I don't know if that was the exact thing, but it was like crazy low temperatures. Then every deer would be on their feet.
They're also talking about 250, 300 pound deer too at that point. So
yeah, I know around here, like when we've had snow and stuff and like ice storms, a lot of times you don't see many deer during that.
And frost, so if it's a thick frost, deer typically aren't going to use it until the frost burns off. So if you know it's going to frost, you can afford to be late going into your stand.
Yeah. I feel like our deer down here during extreme cold, I don't know exactly what they do. I just know they're not out and about near as much as they normally would be.
No, I mean,
they may be moving a lot, but they stay into thicker cover. It's one thing you hear a lot more from Midwest hunters is thermal cover, like thick cedars up there, I think, and like just stuff like that. I feel like it's just kind of the same around here when it gets that extreme cold for us, which is like 25 degrees.
Well, no, I mean, extreme cold for us is like 20 and below. We get those some, but like I feel like from 25 to 32 degrees, you're gonna have good deer movement.
Mm-hmm.
And then from about let's say about 25 to 35, you're gonna have good deer movement. And then from 35 to 55 is what I think down here is your peak deer movement temperatures.
Especially if it's like a cold front and it's like in the highs in the 65 range.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, like cold front comes through hopefully at night usually. Or that best case scenario, it comes through at night, and then you wake up the next morning and it's like 32 degrees and the high is like 50.
Mm-hmm.
Those are money days around here because it's not so cold that it shocks the deer into like bedding up in the thickest, nastiest thermal cover, but it's still colder than normal, so it gets them on their feet.
And bow season is like 85 degrees.
Anything cooler than normal during bow season is great.
Yeah.
For us and the deer, they're ready for a break too.
Yeah. So just be ready if you hadn't ever bow hunted down here.
Yeah. This is gonna be our last question, I believe.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's all you sent me.
Okay.
Well, I mean, there's a couple I left out, but I feel like this is a good one to end it on. It says, the question is, my city cousin asked me, what is so addicted to so many hunters about waking up early, freezing your butt off, and waiting alone in the woods just for an opportunity to shoot a deer?
That's hard for me to put in words.
Same. Everything.
I don't know what I would do with my life if it wasn't for hunting.
Yeah, it's like I'd
probably have more money.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I'd have probably 20 grand in the bank.
the only thing I can say to that is take them hunting.
Yeah.
Don't take them on a miserable day. Take them on a good constant day. Take them hunting, and hopefully you see some deer. But if not, if you can't enjoy being out in the woods in peace and quiet, watching either the earth wake up or the earth go to sleep, then you don't have any business being there.
There's something wrong. I mean, for me, it's just the simple fact that I love being in the woods, as well as it's such a reward when you've worked so hard for something and it finally comes. Like you can apply that to literally anything. If you work super super hard for something and it finally comes together and works out, but imagine all that hard work instead of it like slowly coming together like a lot of projects or something. Imagine it all happening at once, and all the adrenaline and the happiness and the excitement from getting this thing that you worked so hard for happening at one precise moment, and all the pressure to make sure that you do everything right, and then knowing that if you did everything right, it's better than like if a coyote killed a deer, or if cold killed a deer, or if anything, disease or anything, and then knowing that if you did everything right, it's going to be quick, it's going to be fast, and you're going to get 50 pounds of meat, of good, clean, beautiful, delicious meat. There's just so many things.
Yeah, I mean, so everybody 99% of the people that listen or watch this have driven a vehicle really fast. And driving a vehicle really fast, or whatever even seems fast to you, gives you an adrenaline rush. But it's not like it's a pure adrenaline rush. So take that, amplify it by 50, and that's what you feel after shooting a deer. It's your dopamine levels go through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
But if that is just a bonus. If you can't enjoy being out there in the woods, it's not going to be for you. If you have to kill something every time you go out, you're wasting your time. Find a new hobby.
Just go fishing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I waste a lot more time fishing than I do hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth. But fishing's fun. It keeps you active. It's fun. It takes a special fish to give you an adrenaline rush, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can catch, if you're largemouth fishing, you can catch 2-3 pounders all day long. You're not going to really get a adrenaline rush out of that. If you catch like a 7-8, you might get that adrenaline rush going.
If I catch like a big fish, especially like if I catch one on like finesse tackle, or like even like a fly rod or something, that's the closest I feel, because it's like after I caught that 1 6-pounder on a wacky rig, I felt like I was literally shaking for a few minutes. I didn't know what to do. However, it still wasn't anything that compared to shooting a buck with a bow. But you can go out there and shoot a 2.5-year-old doe and feel that. And feel better than if I caught a 5-6 pound bass. Yeah. On a spinning rod.
There's not a feeling on earth like it.
No. I haven't felt. The only thing to me personally that trumps shooting a deer with a bow is shooting a turkey in the face. It's the only thing to me that feels better. I don't know what is wrong with you.
Turkey hunting's a close second.
You're wrong, but okay. I'll let it slide for the podcast.
Yeah.
But you're wrong. Your opinion's wrong. That's all I got to say about it.
It's my opinion. That's your opinion.
Opinions can be wrong.
It's also not really. So that's
Whatever.
the difference between somebody that is raised solely deer hunting and somebody that is raised primarily turkey hunting.
Now, I did a lot more deer hunting growing up.
Yeah, but because the seasons are a lot longer.
Yeah, that's literally it.
That's it.
Yeah. I did find out there were more questions on there, but none of them were. The first ones that we did were way better than the last, 4 on the thing you sent me.
If you want to see the rest of the questions, just Google that, and what it said in the front. It ought to pop
drop
up.
a comment, and if you want to see us finish this list out.
Leave your own comment, or go on YouTube if you're not on YouTube, and comment on any of our videos asking us questions, and maybe we'll fill it out in a podcast. That's probably the best chance for y'all to get questions answered by us is through podcast.
Yeah, we answer questions through comments, but a lot of times we can't actually say everything that question needs to have answered.
There is a character cap that you can type on this stuff on comments. And some things just can't be explained properly with text.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to explain what you're saying through words and enunciation in your words than typing it out.
Yeah. So leave your comments down below. Ask us questions, and maybe we'll do a full Q&A podcast soon. Now, I do know that I told y'all that Kurt would have been in the next one the last time I talked. Kurt came in contact. He doesn't have it, but he came in, as of yet, he came in contact with COVID. And so we're having to put his on postpone as he goes through a slight quarantine before he gets tested. So he's still coming up. We're still going to do it, but unfortunately postponed for the moment.
Speaking of that, I don't know why that made me think about it, but I had a video that I posted recently of changing the wheel bearing. Most of it was changing the wheel bearing on my truck, and then there was some of it that involved me straightening out my catfish bush hooks limb lines. And that video went through the normal YouTube checks and got flagged.
Yeah.
Didn't even have any music in the video except for the intro and outro, which we know is good because you use that in every video. And because I know they'll flag, a lot of times YouTube will flag stuff that talks about the C word, the big C, big Rona.
Yeah.
Corvus. But
the Chinese virus.
Yeah. YouTube will flag a lot of that stuff, but I didn't even mention that. I didn't mention anything. I literally just took my wheel off, swapped a thing, put my wheel back on, and then talked about rope with a hook on the end. That's it. And it got flagged.
Yeah.
YouTube's weird.
It's weird.
Oh, that was another thing we talked about in that one podcast. We didn't know what to call the last the podcast was that I posted recently. We did talk about YouTube and hunting and stuff, like how YouTube responds to it. But anyway.
That doesn't matter for this one.
It doesn't.
But we appreciate y'all listening or watching or both. And y'all stay tuned for more. We remember to check out NativeSenseLSC.com, Threads Custom Bowstrings, and our hats and decals on our website.
Hopefully we'll have some more merch type stuff soon.
We're working on it. It's almost impossible right now because of their virus we were talking about earlier. Yeah. We can't get anything. I've been wanting to come out with a new Patriot hat, and can't do it. Can't order them. Just it's impossible right now.
We've got another project we want to work on with a local other business, like kind of a collab thing, and that's just, costs money and stuff.
Yeah.
And also, COVID and all. It's
almost impossible to get things done right now. But y'all stay tuned for more. Hopefully we'll be back pretty soon with y'all. We're trying to do these once a week. It's going to get harder when he goes back to school, but hopefully we'll figure something up.
You need to get Zoom set up in here somehow.
You got to find the internet in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
You know how hard it is to run? That's one thing I'd like to mention. Do y'all guys have any idea how hard it is to run a social media network, YouTube, and podcast without any internet at your house?
Yeah, he just makes me do it all.
Shoot.
I do it all.
Yeah.
You can't even edit right now because your laptop's messed up and it's my fault.
My edit, my laptop works fine. It just won't take videos off my cell phone. Thanks, Apple.
Oh yeah, you did film it on your cell phone.
Yeah, I filmed it on my cell phone because I tried it and it worked. And then when I'd actually used it for video, now I can't get it off. I mean, I download an editing app and figure out how to work it on my phone, but I don't know.
Or Google Drive. I'll show you after the podcast.
Yeah.
But
we appreciate y'all watching. Y'all stay tuned and always
remember to live life 25 high.
high.